War II began on September 1, 1930, and Germany invaded.
In 1940, Germany's blitzkrieg swept through France, forcing millions to flee as Europe broke.
The Battle of Britain saw the skies filled with German planes, while British pilots defended their homeland with bravery.
Operation Barbarossa marked Germany's massive invasion of the Soviet Union, where soldiers faced harsh winters and fierce resistance.
On December 7, 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, crippling the U.S. Pacific Fleet and bringing America into the war. The Battle of Stalingrad began in 1942, a brutal urban warfare conflict with freezing temperatures and relentless artillery fire.
In North Africa, Allied and Axis forces clashed across vast deserts, with tanks and infantry battling under harsh conditions.
On June 6, 1944, Allied forces stormed Normandy beaches, marking the beginning of Western Europe's liberation.
Later in 1944, Paris was liberated. Citizens rejoiced, while soldiers witnessed the joy.
On May 8, 1945, VE Day marked victory in Europe, bringing relief after years of conflict and hope for a new beginning. The Battle of Midway in 1942 marked a turning point in the Pacific as American forces dealt a decisive blow to the Japanese Navy.
The siege of Leningrad lasted 900 days, with soldiers and civilians enduring starvation.
The Eastern Front saw brutal clashes between Germany and the Soviet Union, with massive tank battles and relentless fighting.
Operation Torch marked the Allied landings in North Africa, opening a new front against Axis forces.
The Battle of El Alamein became a turning point in North Africa, where the Allies halted the Axis advance.
In 1943, the Allies began the Italian campaign, fighting across challenging terrain against entrenched Axis forces.
The Battle of Kursk in 1943 was the largest tank battle ever, a decisive Soviet victory on the Eastern Front.
Allied leaders meticulously planned D-Day in 1944, coordinating the largest amphibious invasion in history.
On June 6, 1944, Allied forces stormed Normandy beaches, a pivotal moment in liberating Western Europe.
Later in 1944, Paris was liberated, a joyous moment for civilians and soldiers alike.
The Battle of the Bulge began in December 1944. Germany's last major offensive in Western Europe caught Allied forces off guard. Allied soldiers endured freezing conditions, facing relentless attacks and harsh winter terrain.
The Allies launched the Pacific Island hopping campaign, capturing strategic islands to weaken Japan.
The Guadalcanal campaign was a brutal fight in dense jungles, testing the endurance of every soldier.
In February 1945, Dresden was heavily bombed, demonstrating the devastating power of aerial warfare.
The Warsaw Uprising in 1944 saw brave Polish resistance fighters challenge the German occupation.
Allied forces continued the Italian campaign, overcoming harsh landscapes and fortified positions.
Rome was liberated in June 1944, marking a symbolic victory for the Allies in Italy.
Japanese kamikaze pilots launched suicidal attacks, causing heavy damage and fear among Allied sailors.
The Battle of Iwo Jima was one of the bloodiest in the Pacific, with intense fighting for control of strategic terrain. In 1945, Allied forces liberated concentration camps, revealing the horrors of the Holocaust to the world.
The Battle of Berlin marked the final major assault in Europe, with fierce urban combat shaping the war's end.
Berlin fell in May 1945, ending Hitler's regime and paving the way for peace in Europe.
VE Day on May 8, 1945, celebrated victory in Europe and the end of World War II in Europe.
In August 1945, the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, showcasing the destructive power of modern warfare. 3 days later, Nagasaki was bombed, forcing Japan's surrender and ending World War II in the Pacific.
On September 2, 1945, Japan officially surrendered, marking the end of World War II.
The Nuremberg trials began, holding Nazi leaders accountable for war crimes and crimes against humanity.
After the war, Europe began the long process of reconstruction, striving to recover from years of devastation.
Allied forces occupied Germany, maintaining peace and overseeing the rebuilding of a devastated nation. War crimes investigations began to bring justice to those responsible for atrocities committed during the war.
Japan began its reconstruction after the devastation of atomic bombs, focusing on recovery and rebuilding society.
In October 1945, the United Nations was founded to promote peace and prevent future global conflicts.
Soldiers returned home, reuniting with loved ones after years of hardship and battle.
Memorials were built to honor the millions who sacrificed their lives during World War II.
The Nuremberg trials concluded, delivering justice to high-ranking Nazi officials and setting a precedent for international law.
Prisoners of war were repatriated, reuniting with families and returning to civilian life.
The Tokyo trials held Japanese leaders accountable for war crimes committed during World War II. Europe began rebuilding after the devastation, laying foundations for a more peaceful future.
The Berlin airlift preparations began to support the city cut off by Soviet blockade. Women played a crucial role in the workforce, helping rebuild nations devastated by war. As World War II ended, tensions rose between the United States and Soviet Union, marking the beginning of the Cold War.
Japan worked to rebuild its cities, economy, and society following the devastation of the atomic bombs.
Veterans were honored in parades, remembering the sacrifices made during World War II.
World War II accelerated technology, laying foundations for modern warfare innovations. In 1949, NATO was established to ensure collective security and prevent future conflicts in Europe.
The world paused to remember the millions who sacrificed their lives, honoring their courage and resilience.
World War II reshaped the world forever, teaching lessons of courage, sacrifice, and the enduring hope for peace.